Madrid is a city teeming with history, culture, and architectural marvels. Among its gems lies the Palace of Linares, a grand 19th-century mansion that stands with an air of mystery, its stone facade concealing a dark and tragic past. The stories of haunted mansions are commonplace, but there's something undeniably chilling about the tale that envelops the Palace of Linares, something more tangible, more palpable. In the late 1800s, José de Murga, the Marquis of Linares, fell deeply in love with a beautiful woman named Raimunda. Their love was passionate, all-consuming, the kind that defied societal expectations and norms. They wed in secret, eager to escape the pressures of Madrid's aristocracy. But their union harbored a dark secret, one that would shatter their love and bring forth the darkest horrors imaginable. Raimunda was José's half-sister, a fact uncovered too late by the two lovers. The discovery was not just a tragedy, it was a scandal that threatened to ruin the family's reputation. To save face, the couple made an unthinkable decision. They murdered their own daughter, a baby born out of their incestuous love, in a desperate attempt to erase any evidence of their forbidden relationship. The child, known in whispers as La Niña, never received a proper burial. Her small body was hidden within the walls of the palace, a secret sealed by stone and silence. Yet, secrets like these never remain buried for long. It was the dead of winter when Lucas, a paranormal investigator, arrived in Madrid. He had spent years traveling across Europe, exploring haunted locations and documenting supernatural phenomena for his online channel. When he heard about the Palace of Linares, with its notorious history and frequent ghost sightings, he knew he had to investigate. The palace had been converted into a cultural center in the 20th century, but even its modern function couldn't shake the eerie tales that surrounded it. Visitors claimed to hear strange noises, a child's laughter, soft cries in the middle of the night, music that seemed to float through the air from nowhere, and voices engaged in conversations that no human was present to have. Lucas was skeptical but intrigued. His crew, consisting of his tech-savvy assistant Marta and cameraman Daniel, joined him as they prepared for an overnight investigation. They had acquired special permission from the city to stay in the palace after hours. Their mission was simple: document the paranormal activity, if any existed. As they walked into the palace's grand entrance hall, they were struck by its opulence. The high ceilings were adorned with intricate carvings, the marble floors gleamed under the dim lighting, and portraits of the long-dead Murga family lined the walls, their eyes seemingly following the visitors' every move. "This place is massive," Daniel remarked, adjusting his camera as he swept it across the room. "Yeah, and eerie," Marta added, her voice low. "I read that the child's room is on the second floor. That's where most of the activity has been reported." Lucas nodded, checking his equipment. "Let's start in the child's room then. We'll work our way down." The trio climbed the grand staircase, their footsteps echoing in the silence of the empty palace. The air seemed to grow heavier as they approached the second floor. Lucas's pulse quickened as they reached the door of La Niña's bedroom. The wood was ancient, its surface cracked and worn. He turned the knob and the door creaked open with a sound that sent shivers down their spines. The room was small and sparsely furnished, just a bed, a rocking chair, and an old toy chest. Dust covered everything and the air smelled faintly of mildew. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees as they stepped inside. "This is it," Lucas whispered, setting up his EVP recorder on the bed. "Let's see if we can get anything." Marta set up the motion detectors while Daniel positioned the camera in the corner, capturing a wide-angle shot of the entire room. They stood in silence, waiting for something to happen. The minutes ticked by, each one heavier than the last. Suddenly, the rocking chair began to sway, ever so slightly. The creak of the wood filled the room. "Did anyone touch that?" Marta asked, her voice trembling. "No," Lucas replied, his eyes wide. "Keep recording." They all stared at the chair, watching as it moved back and forth with a steady rhythm, as if something was sitting in it. And then, they heard it. A faint giggle. It was the soft, innocent sound of a child's laughter, yet it sent chills down their spines. Not possible, Daniel muttered, adjusting his camera to focus on the chair. The giggling grew louder, echoing off the walls. It wasn't playful, it was sinister, mocking. It stopped abruptly, replaced by the sound of soft sobbing. The room filled with a sense of despair so overwhelming that it was almost suffocating. Lucas grabbed the EVP recorder and played back the audio. As the static crackled through the speaker, a faint voice could be heard beneath the white noise. It was a child's voice, whispering a single word. Marta gasped. "She's here. She's really here." Before they could react, the toy chest in the corner of the room slammed shut with a deafening bang, as if an unseen force had thrown the lid closed. The crew jumped, their hearts racing. "We need to get out of here," Daniel said, his voice barely steady. Lucas, however, was determined. "No, we need answers. We're staying." In the early hours of the morning, Lucas decided to conduct a séance. It was risky, but he was desperate to communicate with the spirit of the girl. He had done séances before, this was nothing new. But something about the Palace of Linares felt different, as if the place itself was alive, feeding off the tragedy that had taken place there. They gathered in the Grand Salon, a room known for its ornate decorations and eerie energy. Lucas lit several candles and placed them in a circle on the marble floor. "Are you sure about this?" Marta asked, her voice shaky. Lucas nodded. "If she's trying to communicate, this might be our best shot." They joined hands and closed their eyes. Lucas spoke softly, his voice resonating in the silence. "We are here to speak with the spirit of the child, La Niña. If you are here, give us a sign." For a moment nothing happened. The room was silent, the only sound the faint flicker of the candle flames. Then a cold breeze swept through the salon, extinguishing the candles one by one. The temperature dropped so suddenly that they could see their breath. And then they heard it, a child's voice, clear and distinct, echoing through the room. "Mama! Papa! ¿Dónde estás?" The voice was coming from all around them, yet there was no one there. Marta's hand tightened around Lucas's. Her eyes were wide with fear. The candles flickered back to life, casting long shadows across the room. And in the doorway, barely visible in the dim light, stood the figure of a little girl. She wore a white nightgown, her hair long and dark, her eyes wide with sadness. Her skin was pale, almost translucent. "La Niña," Lucas whispered, unable to move. The child looked at them with empty eyes. Her mouth opened, but instead of words, a horrible wail filled the air. The walls of the palace seemed to tremble with the force of it, the very foundation shaking beneath their feet. The girl's face twisted into something grotesque, her innocent appearance morphing into that of a tortured soul. Suddenly, the room filled with the sounds of voices, screams, whispers, cries for help. It was as if every spirit trapped within the palace had awoken, their anguish echoing through the halls. "We need to leave, now!" Daniel shouted, grabbing his camera and bolting for the door. The others followed, but as they reached the grand staircase, they were stopped in their tracks. Standing at the bottom of the stairs was another figure, a woman, dressed in a flowing gown from another era. Her face was gaunt, her eyes hollow, and she stared up at them with an expression of pure hatred. "Raimunda," Marta whispered, recognizing the woman from the portraits. The spirit of Raimunda raised a hand, and the temperature plummeted even further. Ice formed on the banister and the walls began to crack as if the very structure of the palace was breaking apart. Without another word, the team sprinted down the stairs, past the ghostly figure of the woman and out the front doors. The cold night air hit them like a wave of relief, but the palace loomed behind them, dark and silent once again. They never spoke of that night publicly, but Lucas knew the truth. The Palace of Linares was not just haunted, it was cursed, forever echoing with the pain and tragedy of the past, and the spirits within were far from at peace.